Hey, Dave here, Fix and Fly RC. Hey, going to do another plane review on one of my purchases. This is well, it was originally a free wing 80 millimeter F-22 that I purchased off marketplace, and it had some life. Uh, it had apparently had a few crashes and had some retracts and stuff replaced. So it's probably eventually going to get a repaint. I think I'm going to try to do a complete repaint on eventually. Of course, I really like the scheme, so I've been reluctant to do it, but was going to give you a little bit of history on kind of the life I've put the plane through. Is that originally when I bought it, flew it around, I was only getting 3-minute flight times, and was flying HRB 6,000 batteries, and just wasn't getting much flight time. A lot of people on Facebook and stuff were talking about, better throttle control, and, even at, 60% throttle and just not really doing anything. It really wasn't getting a whole lot better than that. But so I was, working on that. Well, I decided to put a afterburner light in it, so I bought one from RC Geek. Got that installed, and at the club I fly at sometimes, we were having an event there. So first time went to fly it at the club. I've been flying it where we fly locally some, and first time flying it with the light installed, and at takeoff I picked up something off the runway, some debris, and up through the inlet in the bottom. Went through the blades, broke the blades. Some of the blades actually went through the body. I was fortunate enough, I was just at liftoff, so I was able to get it down on the ground. Just did some minor damage to the front end, but pretty much saved the plane. But then when I went and looked at the motor and stuff, it just felt like I just wasn't happy the way it's turning, so I just didn't want to replace the blade. So I said, well, I'll just replace the motor. And so I went on the internet, and I was on Amazon, and bought an X-Fly motor and put in it. Hey, so just to break in the video here, so I made a mistake when I was talking about between 80 and 90 millimeter motors. They were always 90 millimeter motors. What I was meant to say, and just had a brain fart, if you excuse the term, I was talking about between 6S and 8S. The original motor was a 6S motor, and the new motor I had purchased was an 8S motor, and didn't realize I had purchased an 8S motor. That's why I went to the 8S batteries and burned up the original ESC. So anyway, as you go through the video, forget about the 80 millimeter comments. I didn't want to go back and remake the whole video. So just wasn't thinking when I was talking. So anyway, back to the regular schedule program. And there was a few, there's those things where things don't seem like they're quite right, should kick off, but I wasn't paying enough attention. And the motor, when I put the cover on the motor, I'll show that in a minute, but just didn't quite fit exactly right. But I thought, well, it was just a little different motor, and not that big of a deal. So the cover was, just not quite there. Started flying it, and I noticing that it just didn't feel like it had the power that it should with the new motor, and still was clearly not getting any better flight times. And so I'd actually quit flying it for a little bit, and because I had some other projects I was working on, and I ended up having to buy some new motors for my B1B because I had a bad one out of the box. And it just so happened when I was on Amazon, the old motor, the one that I bought for this one, popped up as a recent purchase. And I looked at it and it said 90 millimeter. And I was like, oh. So thinking I had bought an 80 millimeter motor, had ended up buying a 90 millimeter motor. And I said, well, okay. So I went online and I looked at the ESC and I kind of looked at the new 90 millimeters, but the amp for the ESC, it appeared to be the same. The ESC in this plane had been changed by the previous owner, but I thought it had enough power to handle it. So I went and because it was 90 millimeter, I wanted to go to 8S. And so I purchased me two 4S SMCs. I've moved to SMC batteries for now. I've had too many problems with my HRB, so I've quit purchasing those. And took it up and flew it, and just, a minute and a half in, the motors quit. And fortunately, with the BEC, I still had rudder and elevator and gear, so I actually got it on the ground, landed it, and of course, long story short is I ended up burning up the ESC in it. And so I purchased the OEM that comes with this plane now for 90 millimeters, and I've installed that. And I have gotten one flight out of it, but I'm going to go do a speed run today, and I'm going to use my speed meter that one of my buddies that lives across the street gave me for Christmas, and I'll measure the speed. So anyway, it's a great plane. It looks great in the air. I've really enjoyed flying it. Like I said, had a bad, just a bad thing on, just picked up some debris on the runway. That happens every once in a while. But one thing I had done, the guy that I bought it for, he had already put a steering gyro in. I've got another buddy that has the same plane. He's put the steering gyro. So I actually kind of recommend a steering gyro, and maybe with the new AS3X Plus that's got the gyro assist in it, you may be able to upgrade your, if you're flying Spectrum, upgrade your servo. And I've used that steering assist on my A10. It's not quite as good as this, but it does a pretty good job. And being that I converted it to 8S and flying two 4S batteries, I bought this adapter from the local hobby shop, and you just plug in your two 4S batteries there, and then of course you plug it in there. They fit in there just fine, no problems at all fitting the batteries in. And hopefully we'll get a good speed check. The guy that had it before clearly had some issues. He sprayed some foam or something in here. I won't really show you, but I can't get that out. It's like a building foam or something to strengthen it up. So, and I will show us on the bottom. So here's the cover where the EDF goes. And it's still not quite right, but it was sticking up quite a bit. And I actually went in there today and cut some of the foam out. And one of the things I was having trouble was still getting it to seat. So I was trying to figure out where it was holding up. So I actually went in there. I had some old latex paint that I was using on another plane, and I actually painted over the EDF, had some wet paint on, was able to put the cover on. And then I could see where the paint transferred over, and I knew what areas to kind of go work on a little bit. So not perfect, but these are the inlets right here where some debris had gone up in and took out my other motor. And you can see it's kind of rough underneath. Like I said, it apparently had a few bad landings. But for Marketplace, the price I got it off Marketplace, it's just one of those prices, planes that you really just couldn't turn down. It really was just one of those purchases like, yeah, it's worth it. It's worth the risk. One thing I do on my planes, and I'm sure probably not everybody would want to do it, but I bought these little felt tips or pads. They're like you would move furniture with and stuff, but these are the real small ones. And I actually put those at the CG marks. And the reason why I do that, instead of just like putting a little pencil marker and stuff like that, is so when you're checking your CG, if you got a pencil mark, you're having to look and get your fingers in the right place and hope you don't move it. And with these, you can just get your fingers right on them. And I'm not going to lift it over my head. I had surgery. I can't do it. But you can put your fingers over it, and you know where the CG's at. And so it just gives you that feel of making sure your fingers haven't moved. Just something I do, makes it a little easier. You really can't see it on the plane unless you're looking up close. And so anyway, like I said, it needs some love and care, but it really looks great with the afterburner stuff in it. So like I said, I'm going to go take it out today. We'll do a speed run on it. even it's not as good as, you know, right new out of the box. And if you guys got any suggestions on a scheme or something like this, on a plane like this that you've done or something that may be worth trying, just let me know. Anyway, I'll come back later and let you know how the speeds turned out. Out for now. Hey, Dave, Fix and Fly RC back again. Hey, so took the F-22 out to the field and put it up. I didn't have quite the response I was hoping for, the expectation. So a little windy, but not bad. Took it up, checked both batteries. They were both at 100%, both solid 100%. Took it up, was making some fast passes because I had put my GPS in it. And I had my timer set at 3 minutes. So because I was running it hot and it was a little windy, just in case I, you know, needed to do a go around, I wanted to have a little extra battery. So at 2 minutes, I was on the base coming around because I said, hey, I'm going to go ahead and bring it in. I got a minute left on my timer. And just about that time, I lost power. And fortunately, it went down in a field, and I made a little bit of a mistake as it was going down. I meant to raise my landing gear, and I forgot to put my landing gear up, so I ripped both the mains out when it hit. The front gear is perfectly fine, and I did some damage just here on the nose. It's cracked, so it's going to need to be glued back together, and that's an easy fix. So repair wise, it's an easy fix. It could have been a lot worse, obviously, if it had nosed in. So when I got it back to the car, I checked the batteries. Both of them were sitting around 22%. So I mean, you know, they were a little bit lower than they should have been, but still should have had power. I did check the batteries when I got to the plane, and neither one of them were hot. It's a cool day out here today. It's windy, but mid 40s, so not a hot day. And so, you know, nothing should have gotten hot. And so I was afraid that maybe this, you know, I think I mentioned, you know, earlier, but it's a brand new ESC from Free Wing or from Motion RC that comes with the 90mm plane. You know, brand new. I think this is the second time I flew it with that ESC. So I was afraid I might have burned the ESC up again, but I went ahead and powered it up just to see, and I gave it just a little bit of throttle, and I could hear some stuff going on in the motor. So, you know, I looked down, looked to see if any blades were broken. There's no trash in there. None of the blades were broke. My afterburners are all still intact, and so I powered it up a little bit more, and I could hear it's rattling and making some noise. So I'm afraid the motor went out, and it's an X-Fly 90mm. I mean, it doesn't have, you know, less probably than a dozen flights on it, but I did purchase it in November of 23, so I'm sure, you know, it's way out of warranty, so they won't do anything with that. But so I'm going to take the motor out and power it up and just make sure it's the motor. And but sounds like I had a motor go out for some reason or another. I don't know. So any comments or suggestions, let me know. But relatively new motor, brand new ESC, brand new 4S, two 4S SMC battery pack. So I mean, everything in the power system was basically brand new. And just kind of one of those planes that seems to be kind of bit, I guess, because every time I try to fly it, I have some kind of problem. But anyway, it's what you get sometimes when you buy at a marketplace. You don't always get pristine, but we'll check into it, and when I find out something, I'll catch you up later. Anyway, Dave here, Fix and Fly. Again, comments or suggestions, just let me a note. Thanks. Bye.